trained to kill.
Not kill. A truck, kill. Meat of cow, kill. American assassins, kill. Like butchers. Masters of Shinanju, since the dawn of time, have killed to promote harmony and to bring about a more peaceful humor to the entire community. We have done this throughout history. For example, Genghis Khan, the Persian boy, Alexander, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
A bandit, Louis XIII, Napoleon.
Oh, come on. Napoleon died in his bed.
Wrong. All of them perfect assassinations.
You make it sound like a public service.
Professional assassination. It's the highest form of public service.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today, as always, is Sam Stepanenko.
Hello, I am ready for some adventure this week.
Are you? Yes, and that woo on the other side there, that was Sean. We've been teasing him for a few weeks.
Teasing his appearance or teasing him, or both?
Sexually, appearance-wise, the whole gamut, really.
Well, we know Sean likes that, right?
My favorite part's the sexual part.
We just tease, we don't put out. Sean from What Does It Matter podcast, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's about time that you have invited me on to discuss actually nothing from my list of bad movies. We're discussing a good one.
Yeah. Well, you got your 2 cents in on, what was it, Event Horizon? And
Chud.
Then, oh, it was Chud. It was Chud. That was
Chud.
Right. Chud.
Yeah, fuck Event Horizon.
Screw that episode. Even though it did really
well.
No.
I'm not saying screw the episode. I'm just not a fan of that movie.
And then you had that Christmas song that terrorized children everywhere.
And by terrorize, you meant,
awesome.
Pleased parents.
We don't censor ourselves here on the show, so. The only person who complained was YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
Even frickin' YouTube.
Even frickin' YouTube. All right. Today we're going to be talking about Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins from 1985. Did you guys read the Destroyer novels?
Yes. Sean and I talk about the Destroyer novels quite a bit.
Yeah?
That's true. We do, yes.
My dad was a big Destroyer reader. I kind of looked at the covers.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of them. I think. How many were there, Sean? Like there's 130 plus now, or almost 140?
150 plus.
152 at current count.
There you go.
Unreal. I think I've read about. I'm up to 130s. I haven't read any of the recent stuff, but I will eventually.
Yeah, the novels were created by Richard Sapir and Warren Murphy, who Warren Murphy would later go on to script Lethal Weapon 2.
Yes.
It's a really good one.
Yes, a really good one.
The funny thing about that script, though, is that that's not the script they ended up using. Shane Black was pissed off because he and Warren Murphy had worked really hard on that script, and when they didn't use it... Shane Black is actually trying to get his name off of Lethal Weapon 2, which is sad because that's my favorite of the four. But,
yeah, I'd agree with you there. It's one of my favorites as well. Although, given what Shane Black did with Predators, I don't know. I'd let somebody else have the credit.
Yeah, that's what he should be getting his name taken off of.
I'm in the minority. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that movie. I knew what I was getting, and I got exactly that. I don't like political correctness, and that movie pretty much says, we are with you, Sean. We don't like political correctness either. And it was right up my alley.
Yeah, you're famous for liking bad movies, so The Predator definitely ranks among them.
It's a watchable movie. I'm not going to say it's good, and I'm not going to say it's bad. It was just fun and watchable.
Yeah. All right. Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good movie. But we're going to be talking about Remo Williams instead. From 1985, directed by Guy Hamilton, who is a big Bond director.
Very much so, yes.
This actually was developed with the idea of having like an American James Bond type of franchise. Guy Hamilton, he worked on like Goldfinger, The Man with the Golden Gun, which we keep talking about for some reason.
Yeah, because we had some crossover last week from that one.
I know. Live and Let Die and Diamonds Are Forever. Like he's just most of his career, or at least the good parts of his career, are over in the James Bond franchises, and those are good movies.
Well, and it's funny because I mean, you're looking at two properties that both come from novels and books, and you have great source material with both, but the Bond ones are very true to that. And with the Remo, as much as I enjoy this movie, it's not as true to the books as the Bond books are, or Bond movies are, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't read any of the Destroyer novels. I've read a couple of comic books that Marvel put out.
Which also weren't very good.
Yeah, I had nothing to compare them to. Mainly, I grabbed them for my dad to see if he liked them. He didn't.
The novelization for this movie is pretty cool. There's some extra stuff in there. I don't think they were deleted scenes, but it also, the first line of Chapter 2 of every Remo book is, his name was Remo. Chapter 2 of the novelization of the movie was, his name was Chun. It's excellent. And so the book is also actually, it's also written by Saper and Murphy. Good stuff.
Yeah, and that's a little meta. Unless you're a Remo novel fan, nobody would have gotten that joke.
No, I know.
But that little nod back to the original material.
Do the Destroyer books have the kind of sense of humor that this movie has?
They do, yes.
Yeah?
There's
definitely.
Their books were kind of, I don't want to say parody, but they're satire on what this really popular genre of book that came out around that time. There are a whole bunch of the Exterminator and the Eliminator. And
the big pulp novel time of like Mac Bolan and Nick Carter, and of course the Destroyer was definitely a part of that.
That's right, but yeah, they also sort of, it was kind of tongue in cheek at the same time,
right? And I think that's what the studio was looking for. They were looking for something just a little lighter than, say, the James Bond movies at the time, and they kind of found it, I guess. I don't know. Like, watching this back, I did like it as a kid. I still kind of like it as an adult, but I certainly see its faults now more than I did then.
There are some. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I knew this was coming. We'll get into it, Sean. Don't you worry.
Yeah, we sure as fuck will.
This might be The Fault in the Stars. Wait, that's a different movie.
That is a different
I never
movie.
saw that one.
That's all right. Neither will we.
Neither will we.
Before we get fully into Remo Williams, though, I want to mention we got HorrorCon coming up at the end of June. Are you a horror fan there, Sean?
I like movies.
You like movies. You like movies of all sorts. Of course, we do big horror stuff throughout the year, and of course, we get really into it in October. But we did go down to HorrorCon last year. This year, it's on June 21st for the VIP party, June 22nd and 23rd for the main part of the show. And tickets are available online at horror-con.ca, or you can find them at my shop, Words and Pictures, here in Calgary, and most video game trader locations. Man, some cool guests. We got Danny Lloyd coming from The Shining, Kane Hodder, and Bill Moseley. Just to name a few. Bill Moseley. I'm looking forward to talking to Bill Moseley.
We gushed a little bit last week about Bill.
Yeah, we did. He's in some cool shit. Yeah. We also can get you some cheap deals on tickets. Go to SeatGiant.ca, use the promo code INVASION. Use that promo code INVASION at checkout, and you can get an extra deal on some of the cheapest tickets in town. Your sporting events, your stage shows, your concerts, do all that stuff. Anything you like, go check out SeatGiant.ca or .com, and the promo code's good for both. And again, that promo code is INVASION. SeatGiant, they're a game changer. All right, let's get into Remo Williams.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. I may have teased the Fault in the Stars bit a little bit here. Fred Ward is in this movie. He's probably most famous known for his co-starring role in Tremors, which I love.
Yes. The first one. They get progressively worse.
Yeah, they embrace the cheese, and most of the people who have talent left the movies.
Yes. Michael Gross, I think, is in all of them, but like you said...
Fred Ward's in the first two, but that second one's pretty shaky. Kevin Bacon only did the first one, although he did come back to do the pilot for a TV series that nobody picked up. Damn it.
Damn it, yes. Kevin Bacon's career is not exactly thriving right now. So
no, the fact that he wanted to go back to the Tremors says a lot.
Yes.
Joel Grey. He was in Choke and Cabaret, but the fun thing about Joel Grey is he plays a Korean character named Chun, the sensei character. If you didn't pick up what I was laying down with Joel Grey, not Korean.
No, not Korean. I was interested to find out that he was in Buffy. I didn't. As soon as I read he was in Buffy, I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize him now, even though underneath all that makeup. Yeah.
What was he on Buffy? I don't remember.
He played the character who betrays the annoying sister Dawn in season 5.
Nerd.
Spike.
Nerd.
Yeah.
I just set you up for that. That's all.
Yeah, you kind of.
I don't get to say that very often.
What, that I'm the nerd? That's true. Okay, my wife is a ridiculous Buffy fan. Do you know how many times I've seen that fucking series?
Yes, I know. It's
twice a year,
like a
every year.
sentence.
Yeah, that and Gilmore Girls. Those are her 6
We got to
shows.
watch Buffy. Throw him in the hole. Yeah. All right, Wolfram Brimley is also part of this, most famous for his Quaker Oats commercials. And the thing.
And diabetes.
Yeah.
And diabetes.
Yeah. And Cocoon. Don't forget.
And Cocoon,
Yeah.
absolutely. I actually got that written down here as well. J.A. Preston, he was in A Few Good Men, and Captain Ron, if you remember that.
Captain Ron! Kurt Russell.
Ron. Yeah, we love Kurt Russell. George Coe was the General Scott. He was in the Stepford Wives and Kramer versus Kramer. Might have to do that one, Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah. And Stepford Wives, that's been remade.
Stepford Wives. Yeah, we'll definitely cover that one. Charles Keofi was George Grove, the kind of villain when they remembered he was there. Clute, Shaft, and Newsies. He's been in some good stuff.
He's also the guy that teams Dana Scully up with Fox Mulder in the pilot episode of The X-Files.
Holy shit, you're right. It just popped in my brain as you said it. I'm like, I totally remember that scene. Oh my God. Wow. He gets around. Kate Mulgrew, man, she's had a good renaissance in her later part of her career.
She certainly has, yeah.
Star Trek Voyager was, I don't know, I guess it lasted a long time, so I won't say it was a Star Trek favorite, but I think it lasted longer than all the other Star Trek shows. And Orange is the New Black. So, yeah. I mean, she's doing really well for herself, and it was fun to see her. This is probably the first time I'd actually seen her in anything, was this movie.
Throw Mama from the Train?
Yeah.
I think I'd seen this before Throw Mama from the Train.
Throw Mama.
This came out first.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely came out first, too. Yeah, because Throw Mama was late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
It was 87.
So a couple of years later.
Yeah. Patrick Kilpatrick was also in this. You can see him in Minority Report. He was stoned with the diamonds in his teeth. And Michael Pataki, who was in Rocky IV and Halloween 4, because he only does movies with 4 in it.
Except for this one.
There's some pretty fun cameos in here. Marv Albert, the sports announcer. Yeah. Reginald Veljohnson was the ambulance driver earlier in the film. Best known for Die Hard 1, 2, and 3. And what was that? Was it Family Matters?
He's not in 3.
No, he wasn't in 3.
Yeah, he was. It was a phone call.
Oh, that's right.
What's wrong with you people?
The phone call's at the beginning of Die Hard 2. Get that Twinkie out of your mouth and get a pen and paper.
I thought he was in 3.
Nope. That's Sam Jackson, you racist.
Oh, I can tell them apart. What are you talking about? William Hickey was also in this, which I loved his little appearance here in that little theme park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, William Hickey. But we were watching this. Val's future girl will be coming. Trust me. She loves this movie, too. But yeah, the first thing she said was, that guy is the same fucking age all the time. Because he's in Christmas Vacation, and he's the same freaking age.
Yeah. I was looking at his resume, and he's been around forever at this point doing...
I told them, but they wouldn't listen.
Doing that thing.
Yeah.
That's a pretty long career for doing that.
Yeah, and he's actually one of my favorite Steve Martin movies. I love My Blue Heaven. Right. And he's great in that movie.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
You should. It's fun.
You've never seen that? You've never had arugula? It's a vegetable.
I'm not big on comedies.
No, this one's good though. I know you're not into comedies, but yeah, it is quite good.
I'm not big on Steve Martin either, but
Whoa.
I've seen a few. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're entitled to your incorrect opinion.
Well, he did have sort of a shaky run there around this time because there were some that weren't that great. But yeah, no, I like My Blue Heaven. It's still my favorite, even over The Jerk.
Nice.
What about Bowfinger?
Oh, good Lord. That's one of the misses for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. Maybe I do like bad movies. Shit.
You know, when this movie first opens, it opens on a shot of the Twin Towers, which was... Every time I watch one of these 80s New York movies, it's a little weird for a second just to see that skyline change.
Yeah, there's a poignancy about that when you see these movies that have something that we know is no longer exists, right? Something iconic like that too.
Now, Remo, before he was Remo, was a New York cop, and through a series of events that I'm pretty sure were fixed, he stops a crime in progress and gets his ass handed to him, but wins the fight.
But he does, yes.
Yeah, and then, of course, he's arrested in his car, calling it in, and then the big truck plows into him and throws him into the New York River there.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, because it's been a while since I read the first book, but this is different, isn't it, from the book? Didn't they set him?
Yeah, it's much different. In the books, he's electrocuted.
He's set up as
a
blackmailed,
murderer.
Yeah, as murder, yeah. Yeah, so it's quite different because it gives them more control over it. And I was actually surprised they changed it the way they did, because the way it's written in the book is actually more engaging than this setup in this one felt a little lazy to me.
It feels contrived.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing I'd change. I'd go back to that original origin story of Remo there.
Oh, for sure. I think pulling a little more closer to the book would probably
Serve
do
the story
better.
fairly well,
I mean,
yeah.
this movie's like 2 hours, and I would say an hour and a half of it is his training montage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
That's the best part. Is Chun is probably the best part of this movie.
Oh,
So,
hell yes.
I mean, my biggest complaint is that I didn't see enough of him, even though he's in it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I just want more and more of that.
Yeah, and that's also going to be your biggest challenge, because with political correctness, as Sean has mentioned, it's going to be trickier to cast him, simply because casting a Caucasian in an Asian role is very unacceptable.
I mean, yeah, in 85, nobody blinked at that. Now it's cultural appropriation. There's plenty of great Asian actors out there, so I wasn't particularly worried about that. I mean, it should be to go to an Asian actor of some sort.
Certainly, given the wealth of them that are available now, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And
If you wanted to go for a cute little meta joke, you could get John Krasinski to do it.
Yes. I mean, and sometimes when you do a remake, sometimes that's the kind of thing you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, feasibly, you could lean heavier into the comedy. I mean, you probably want to get one film out of it instead of a franchise, but some of those things that this movie made mistakes on. But, I mean, the great thing about Chun, despite being a Caucasian actor, is he did such a great job in the role, and you kind of forget it pretty quickly. I mean, this movie it didn't do great, but it was up for an Oscar for makeup.
As it should have been, because it was flawless.
Yeah.
Right? And his performance was amazing. I mean, when I saw this movie for the first time after being a fan of the books, he looked the way I thought Chun would look, right? which was quite pleasing.
It's a perfect performance.
It is.
And then there's Fred Ward.
Who's a better actor than this?
Yeah, I seem to remember when I watched it again, I'm like, I thought he was better than this. Like, every time a scene's working and then he starts talking, it just, everything slows right down. It's like, oh, boy. Yeah, phoning that one in.
Yeah, and I mean, physically, he was, again, kind of perfect for the role, but he didn't have the physicality that the role, I felt the role would require. Anytime he did sort of like any of the action combat scenes, he looked kind of clumsy, and it was fun to watch. But yes, Chun is still the best part of the movie. Even when he does his action bits, he looks smooth and fluid, and that economy of motion that you expect from this particular character.
There seems to be a very deliberateness to the scenes when it comes to the action moments, and it's not like a Bond movie with the quick cuts and stuff, and maybe they should have, because they do feel a little slow and cumbersome at times and clumsy.
And to be honest, there weren't enough of them. Right? I mean, the character is becoming a weapon, and there were some great training scenes in there, but there weren't enough of them for me. And like when I watched it again, I'm like, I still love the first hour and 30 minutes of the movie. The last 30 minutes we'll talk about.
He's kind of Iron Fist, right? Like he's the fish out of water. He's learning arts that he's probably not supposed to learn as a Caucasian. The stuff he learns, like, is he like a ninja in the novels?
Far more than a ninja.
Yeah,
Okay.
he is Sinanju.
Yes.
It's crazy the stuff that Chun is teaching him. It's like, okay, harden your fingernails so they can pound through this board and
that's a
walk
real
over
thing.
cement. And
That's not.
walking
As far
on
as we
cement,
know.
wet cement is not.
Or running so lightly that you don't leave marks in the sand.
Yeah,
But
Chun literally walks on water,
Yeah.
which is
That
hilarious.
scene is awesome, by the way. The walking on water scene or running on water scene, but the whole Remo floating scene is awesome.
it is. That's a great scene. Like certain things that you just really want to make sure you keep in whatever we do. And that would be one of them for me, is because that shows how he's come along in his training. And it looks really cool.
It does look really cool. Unfortunately, it does look like he's being
Lifted a little bit.
Like there should have just been that grazing across that sand rather than you can see the footfalls rising, but it still looks like he's almost making contact.
Yeah.
But without leaving those footprints, they just did it a little too much.
Well, if you read the books,
Or does he actually float?
when you read the books, it is the way Chin explains it is that you lift your feet before you touch the ground, right? So he's basically using the cushion of air to propel himself. So he actually doesn't touch the ground.
Oh.
Right. So that's actually accurate to the books, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the score for that scene is just perfect.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, while I was watching the movie, I'm going, geez, this movie is very 80s, but it's still perfect for the movie.
The big problem with the score, the only problem with the score is that, especially in the last half hour, every time Remo does something, it's like, I just cut a fart. The score in and of itself is great, and I love it. I think Craig Safan he did some great stuff in the 80s. And it's just that whoever edited that, like, hey, I'm hanging on a tree. Hey, I let go of the tree. It's too much.
There was a little bit of overuse, especially like you're right in that last 30 minutes. But again, that 30 minutes is probably the part of the movie that's going to change the most, I'm thinking, in this remake.
Do you remember what the first novel's actually about?
It's him becoming the Destroyer.
Yeah,
Yes.
but is there a somebody he's supposed to assassinate like Grove?
Yeah, it's
in
some
this
mob
movie?
guy. It's nothing big or like. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the second half of the book because it was just like, not that Grove is like villain extraordinaire.
Yeah, he's just Halliburton, really.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. Weapons manufacturer that doesn't deliver the goods, just taking the Americans' money. And that's kind of the gist of this too. Is Wolfram Brimley is Harold Smith? He's running this organization. Do they name the organization?
Cure. Yeah.
Is it Cure?
Yeah.
Okay. So Remo's been recruited unwillingly. You're dead, so you either join us or you're dead. I'm going to choose alive.
Yes.
Personally. If that was me, I'm going with alive. Alive is good.
Alive is much better, preferable to dead.
I think so.
I'm a
for me
fan
so
of being
far.
alive.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it. Yeah, it's better because although if I was dead, I wouldn't know what's going on. So I've only got experience with being alive.
Well, there
so
is that.
I can't really judge the other side. I'm not rushing to have experience with the other side, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna stick with life.
I am looking forward to following up on this podcast when we've all passed on the other side. We've got the experience. We can come back and update this episode.
We should.
We should.
Yes, because
All
we'll
right.
still be doing it. Because the remakes are never going to fucking end.
No. We're going to haunt the podcast airwaves forever.
And a day.
But yeah, Remo's been recruited to this organization ultimately to take out these guys who are exploiting America and have been out of reach of the actual law.
Yeah, I mean, they've created a device that's literally, even in 1985, is billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. It doesn't even really exist. They've got like a mock-up, and that's all they've got.
Yeah, this is a Black Ops Wetworks operation that is completely off the books and is only known at the highest levels of government, which you would think would be higher than the president. But
Which you'd think.
You would think, especially given the president now. I wouldn't tell him.
No.
Would you tell him? I wouldn't tell him. Hey, you've got this little toy. Can he whack porn stars?
Yeah, that's like the book from National Treasure where just the president knows about it. It's one of those things that's passed down from president to president.
Yeah, from what I understood, it was like, well, in 85, it had been 5 presidents that had passed since the formation of this organization.
Yeah, it had existed because McCleary was sort of their operative up until they just realized.
That must be pretty low budget because only 2 people work there.
Well, no, the fewer people know.
It's just that secretive.
Yeah, it's that secretive. The fewer people who know about it, the fewer people can find out about it.
Yeah.
Smith even says in the movie, there's only 3 people know about it, right? And now 4 you.
So, am I to understand that Remo's their only operative?
He is there, and he's not even. Yes, that's exactly right.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the 11th commandment.
Oh.
Thou shalt not get away with it.
That really is his role.
Okay.
And that's even what McCleary says to him. By the way, Remo getting his name in this movie is absolutely perfect.
The bedpan?
Yeah. A lot of thought went into it.
Yes.
There should have been just that. Hold on that scene as McCleary leaves, and he's like, son of a bitch. He sees it on the bedpan.
And notice how McCleary says it like Bond. Williams. Remo Williams.
Yeah, I think there was a deliberate reference there for sure.
Well, the script writer is Christopher Wood, who wrote
Spider
Who
Loved Me. Moonraker.
Yeah, Moonraker, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of Bond connections here, and I'm sure
tons.
there's a few more Easter eggs in there that even I didn't pick up on.
Bond shows up in the books, just not named.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows up in 2 of the books, but he's just an English gentleman.
No wonder my dad likes these. He's
Yes.
a big Bond fanatic.
There's lots of those little Easter egg nods in the books.
Right.
They're so much fun. They're short, they're fun, they're no nonsense. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, geez, maybe I should go back and reread them all again.
All 152 and
Why
counting.
not, man? I'm in the 40s right now.
Yeah, I just about finished the series I'm reading, so maybe I will go back to those.
All right, so when he's recruited, he is paired up with Chun to learn the arts of, what was it called, Shinjitsu?
Sinanju.
Right, and
Bless you.
One of the things that's missing from the movie is where Chun's explanation of Sinanju, because in the books, especially particularly in the first book, Remo says, well, it's like karate or kung fu or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording, but Shun is horribly offended because they're the first martial art. Sinanju is the first, and everything was stolen from them. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're imperfect martial arts, because they've only stolen parts of it. I think that's really important to the character and why this particular martial art is so important and why it can do so much more than another martial art.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, because he's so much this proud Korean and everybody else is inferior to him.
Yes.
And the fact that he doesn't actually state that in the movie is kind of a shame, because that really plays to his character.
It really does. And it also really plays to the irony of him being addicted to that soap opera.
Yeah.
Which is a part of the book.
Yeah.
He's so interesting because he's so arrogant about being Korean. He's a misogynist.
Oh, yes.
Thinks women should just be making babies, preferably male.
Yeah.
And like some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is whoa, but you can't help but love the dude.
No, because there's
Despite
something.
the fact he's going to kill Remo if he fails.
But he would do it reluctantly.
True.
And I think they did a good job of developing that relationship between the two of them, given the short time they had. As always in a movie, right, is how do you develop that relationship. And I think they did a good job of showing that progression.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then Chun, when he's in the truck that plows down the hill and he's trapped in there because the door handle fell off.
In Korea,
Calls him-
door handles do not fall off.
I am fine, my son. And that's where you really see that there's a bond forming.
That's
between
right,
the
yes.
two. You kind of see it earlier in the film, like when he wins the big Pink Panther on the ring toss
Yes.
with William Hickey. And then he's like, I won it, it's mine.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yeah, and those are moments you definitely want to hit, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so much fun, and they lighten it up just enough so that you can get into what should be the darker bits of the story.
Yeah.
I don't think the darker bits got dark enough, though.
It never really seemed to get into those points. Even the points of jeopardy, you don't really feel like...
Well, Warren Murphy actually went on record saying the problem with the movie is Remo Williams deserves a mega villain, especially in his first movie. You need a villain that has some teeth, and Grove doesn't have teeth. He's just a scuzzy contractor.
Yeah. And
even his henchmen aren't
to keep his secret.
Yeah,
but that's usually like the villains in the books are kind of like that anyway. There's aside from Newick and a couple others. What's the other guy's name? The one that Archer ripped off, the android guy.
Yes,
Mr. Perkins. No,
I think that's right. I think
no, that's Long Kiss Goodnight.
Okay,
that's the teddy bear. That's the Charlie Baltimore's old boss.
It's something like that, though. I know you're on the right track. But yeah, like I said, I haven't read them in a while, so hence going back to reread them.
But like, I mean, that character wouldn't have it would have given the movie no credibility. And Newick is somebody you save for a sequel. You don't put him in the first movie.
Oh no, certainly. Yeah, but I think when you're looking at it sort of a theatrical presence, you need something that's got more teeth than a mob boss or a scuzzy contractor. You need somebody who's got a little more diabolical.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even Smith, for the most part, doesn't seem particularly concerned about Grove, right? And I mean, and that's his job, is to aim his weapon and take out what he's concerned about, right? I mean, the only reason that they even go after these guys is because they target Remo. So it's, and have accidentally uncovered Cure a little bit. They've identified one of the operatives, and that's the only reason they go after him. Not because of what Grove does, but because they found something out that they shouldn't have found out.
And it's actually even accidental, because Remo is doing an investigation. But at the same time, Major Fleming, Kate Mulgrew, is also kind of looking into this, and they're seen together, which makes it sound like, okay, there's something happening here. Who's this dude?
Yeah, it's completely accidental.
So when they know, they're like, okay, we need to kill this guy to send a message to whoever is investigating us.
That's just like in Tennessee.
All right, well, I think this is a good time to run the trailer here, and we'll be back with more Remo Williams.
America's top security experts have chosen this man.
Don't take any chances. This guy's a killer.
For a special mission. But first, he's got to pass one little test.
Speak English. Does your nightingale sing? Hold it! Like a baboon with two corrupt feet. However, I think I can do something with him.
Goodbye, Mr. Crow.
Who's he?
No more Boy Scouts. Take a look at this. High-altitude reconnaissance probe.
Yes, we make that.
There is none. Doesn't exist.
These men will rob America of her might.
He won't be with us for much longer.
Unless someone...
Relax.
...can stop them.
Concentrate! This is not time for prayer.
Remo Williams. The adventure begins.
What are you watching? Your country's one contribution to the art. It's a soap opera. It is apparent to me that you know less than nothing. Place your hands behind your head. I did not say keep them there.
Before he's through, he'll learn to move faster than a bullet.
Excellent.
Not bad.
Hear the heartbeat of an enemy.
John, I need to borrow him for a while.
And leave no footprints in the sand.
Some joker walks into one of my plants, snoops around, walks right out again, and now you're telling me he doesn't exist.
Across town, the man has found his head blown off.
Perfect accident.
And you tell me he's going to get away with it, huh? And we can't stop him?
You can stop him, son.
It'll be my pleasure.
Now, based on the Destroyer novel series that sold over 30 million copies, America's favorite tough guy comes to the screen. in a movie big enough to hold him. Remo Williams. The adventure begins.
And we're back. And it is an awesome trailer because it has voiceover, which I like.
Voiceovers are always good, especially for a podcast. We're going to tell you what's going on in the trailer.
The very rare times when I find those trailers and it's like all music, I'm like, oh, YouTube's going to love that. It always happens with the 50s trailers where it's like a bunch of music and big giant words flashing on your screen that are like,
beware
dazzling.
of the blob.
Yes.
It crawls.
Every time we do one of those, I'm like a little worried. I'm like, is there anything here? Remo Williams is a classic 80s trailer, which I like. So he even had that VHS hiss to it.
Nice.
I liked.
In a world, George Grove owns some shit. Wilfram Brimley has eternal youth, and he wants to stop George Grove.
Now, the one thing is, like, in this movie is Remo, for the most part, is learning to do some amazing things. And there's one great comment that says, hey, he looks great. You've done a great job. When do you think he'll be ready? 15 years. 14 and a half if I cut some corners.
Yeah.
We kind of need him now. But there's one other amazing character in this movie that I have no idea how they got trained. And that's the damn guard dog.
Oh, man, yes.
Those dogs are amazing.
Like, that dog, it was tight roping over wires. It was insane.
And that's the kind of over-the-topness I want from Remo. Like, from a Remo story, that's exactly what you want to see, is that absolute insanity. It's physically impossible, but it's still a blast. You know it's impossible, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, well, Remo should have said, did Chun train this dog? Like, what the hell? Actually, one of the things about this movie that and the organization of Cure is they tend to go weaponless, although there seems to be a little more. McCleary is like, hey, keep your gun on you. And Chun is like, you don't need that.
You are the weapon.
You are the weapon. And there is a bit of a message there because McCleary dies.
Yes.
Saying, hey, that gun didn't protect you.
To a certain extent, yeah, there is a bit of a message there that you can't rely on a weapon if you don't get the opportunity to use it. But if you are the weapon, you always have it.
Yeah.
And the thing that the movie didn't get right about that is that McCleary was also a student of Chun's in the book.
Yes.
So he wouldn't want a gun anyway.
Exactly. And again, if I remember correctly, it's Remo who takes McCleary out in the books, whereas in the movie he takes himself out.
Yeah,
okay.
That's correct.
Sorry, it's been a while, but my key details apparently are still pretty on point.
You know what you would have to change up is the set piece, the Statue of Liberty set piece.
Yes.
Because obviously it's not being reconstructed now.
I agree, and I was watching, like, shit, you can't do that anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great fortuitous time for this film, is the Statue of Liberty was being restored, so it was just covered in all this scaffolding.
Yeah.
But it was a little weird anyway. Like, Stone just pays off a couple of workers to make an accident happen with Remo, who is training up there. And it's
learning to deal with his fear of heights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a great... It's one of those set pieces that makes perfect sense. It's kind of like if you've seen Spider-Verse, like when Miles like realizes, oh my God, I am Spider-Man. Or like it's just that moment of like realization of, holy crap, I'm not afraid of heights anymore. And it happens halfway through the scene where he's just pissed off and now he's like just going to fuck these guys up. But it takes a while to happen. But where would you have that set piece now? I mean, the Tappan Zee Bridge, while they were building that could have been interesting because I'm assuming we're keeping it in New York, right?
Well, that's where it all starts in the books too. So yeah, you'd want to keep it there. Again, you keep it as true to the original stories as possible, and just sort of bring the visual portion of it up for a film.
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's something.
There's
going
probably
on.
lots of landmarks and buildings going up at any given time. I mean, it certainly won't have the same power and presence as the Statue of Liberty does, but this is a little rah-rah America as well that they might want to tone down anyway.
No, you can't, because that's the way the books are too.
Is it really?
Yeah, they're very, very, very protect the country because they work outside of the Constitution, and that's why they don't exist. It's why they can't exist.
It is very much about protecting America.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, where where could you put it? Well, I wouldn't know what construction's going on there at this point in time. So
even if you just, I mean, I live across the river. I mean, I'm a 15-minute drive from the city. I mean, even just use the Freedom Tower. It's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be under construction necessarily.
Yeah, it could just be like, hey, you're going to go to the Freedom Tower, or even Empire State Building. He can King Kong it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I do like the older buildings, but the Freedom Tower, it does say something as well if you use that as a set piece.
Exactly, yeah. And that's very rah, rah, rah America.
Yeah. And that would fall really well with my thoughts on tweaking Grove's character, too, actually.
Sure. Well, what do you got in mind?
Well, I still keep him sort of as a military contractor, but he's essentially trying to undermine the current government and
well, I like the idea
almost like a domestic terrorist.
I was thinking with Grove, and I certainly, like I said, I mentioned Halliburton earlier. Now, like, what if he's playing both sides?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's like selling to both sides. And maybe he's even being contracted by the bad guys to sell the shitty equipment to the Americans, like that shitty AR-60.
Something along those lines, right? But certainly he's betraying his own country. Right? It's not just about money. He's actively working against the interests of America.
Make him
right?
feel like he feels greasy in this and just exploitive, but he doesn't feel overly evil, and that certainly makes him feel like a bigger bad guy than Grove does right now.
Yeah, you don't hate him as much as you should in the original.
Yeah,
right. And you should always at least intensely dislike the villain. Right, and instead this guy just makes you feel slimy. Even in his final moments there, where he grabs the gun and starts shooting at Remo with the M60 or whatever the heck it is on the Jeep, you still don't get the feeling that he's bad.
His own gun should have blown up in his face. I would have laughed.
That would have been awesome, but it would have taken away from the dodging bullets thing, though, and then the whole...
Oh, it should work for a little bit. You get a few rounds off before it blows up in his face. But
I used to be curious who you were. Now I really don't give a damn, but I'm still going to give the bad guy exposition.
Like when he's chasing Remo with the Jeep and he's shooting at him, that would be great if Remo was dodging it while the Jeep's in motion, and it's the AR that blows up in his hands that causes them to lose control of the Jeep, and that's what causes that crash. And so he's trapped, and then you get that final scene again where he like picks up a twig, and
which was great.
That was awesome. Picks up a twig, puts it between his fingers, and lights it on fire just by rubbing it together. I'm like, that's awesome, and then throws it in the leaky gasoline.
Yeah, and that's a great conclusion to the whole scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, considering he was supposed to go in there being the silent assassin, doing the perfect tune type of assassination, and thankfully Grove, being secretive about hiding what he's doing, kept the amount of people small going after Remo. So he was able to still make it look like a tragic accident.
Yes, and that's another thing that's indicative in the books is even though Chun has a way that he likes things done, Remo still finds a way to do it his own way. Mm-hmm. That was a really great example of keeping with some of the key elements of the story. Because he's always getting in trouble from Chin for deviating from what Chin wants him to do.
Yeah.
It would be better for you to eat this can than what is inside of it. There would be no Yoda or a Mr. Miyagi if it wasn't for Chun.
I have to say I probably agree with you to a certain extent, yeah.
I liked how DIY he was with it. Like, he had this big open kind of studio space for his residence, but he didn't have a lot of actual training equipment. So, like, the balance stuff he puts up, and it's just a lot of shit put together for him to walk upon.
Paint cans and chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's because he's training somebody he doesn't really want to train. And that's sort of part of the precept of Sinanju is you use what's there.
I just kept thinking, like, Cure had no budget.
No, I mean, Sinanju is a poor fishing village in Korea, and their sole source of income is Chun.
Right.
And that's how the village has been supported for centuries, is the master Sinanju hires himself out as an assassin for governments or kings, right? They're always kings or emperors, right? He's Emperor Smith.
Which is, it's even better in the books.
Yes, yeah, it really is. And so that's like a really core concept. And the Master Sinanju, and this is when we were talking about the 15 years, is they're trained from essentially birth, right? So to train an adult is also part of Chun's objection, is I can't train an adult because they already have too many bad habits.
Fred Ward was already in his 40s at this point,
Yes.
too. So you would think if he would have got the full training over 15 years, he probably would have been fairly useless by the end.
But he wouldn't be, because Sinanju slows your aging process.
Oh, loving Shinanju.
Yeah, because Chun's much older than he looks in the movie. They don't establish that until, I don't know, well into the series. Like, I think past where Sean is right now in the series. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Spoilers.
Keep in mind, though, Fred Ward...
I'm not telling you how old he is.
Fred Ward had the right stuff.
Can't believe you just did that.
I can.
That's the kind of joke I would tell.
Those are the only kind of jokes worth telling. Except for the aristocrats joke. But
I do agree.
yes.
Those are the kind of jokes I make, and then Sam goes,
Though, no, see, and Sam, groaning at just pure witticism, perfect witticism, that's disrespectful.
Oh, yeah, but I have no respect for Jay.
Oh, then that's fair.
And he keeps showing up anyway.
It's a fine line. What are we doing with are we changing like anything else in the story? Like I said, we're sort of.
Well, I'd like to make it a little closer to the book. I mean,
no,
if we keep...
because then the last half hour would be even worse.
Certainly, we're talking about sort of the development of Remo versus the bad guy. I think the bad guy has to be a movie villain, not a book villain.
And to be honest,
Yeah.
I mean, watching him develop is some of the most fun. I mean, the action scenes need to be sped up for sure. The
Sped up.
scenes.
I think you need more. I mean, you've got the great training scenes
It
where
needs
his
to be
balance
better
of it.
choreography happening.
Yeah, and when he does get into a fight, he needs to get into a fight.
Yeah.
Right? Because even that scene on the Statue of Liberty, mostly he spends his time running, and he uses 2x4s and other things as weapons when he's supposed to be the weapon.
Well,
right?
I mean, you think about things you can incorporate in this film, like that fight on the scaffolding. At that point, like, he'd already learned a lot of balance, and he feels quite clumsy
Yes.
in that. And I think that comes down to not having great choreography and stunt coordination in general. But he should be a little more sure on his feet. Like,
Not at that point yet, because like think of it like this: like Spectre is like now we know who this is the James Bond we grew up with, but those first few movies is still him like coming into his own where he is fucking up, like that awesome parkour chase at the beginning of Casino Royale. He doesn't make the jump; he falls. He does. He's not able to do this. So it's like Remo is also in this position too, that he's not 100% with Sinanju yet, and that's like his whole thing is like it's the fear of heights. So of course he's clumsy with everything until he realizes, fuck this. I just survived. I didn't fall, so I'm gonna like just fuck these guys up. Especially that guy.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I think you hit it on the head. Is you almost need like a reverse the parkour scene where he's struggling at the beginning of it, and then when like that halfway point where he sort of finds that confidence that Chun's been trying to instill in him, and then it turns around. So it's almost like the exact opposite.
well,
It just walks right through the fucking wall.
Yeah.
Well, what I think we should see is him getting to that top position to begin with, that Zen point, because he's already up there. And we should see him kind of making these parkour jumps to get to that position.
That's him
unsure of
curing his
himself.
fear of heights, though, at this point. So, I mean, I see where you're going with it, though, which could be cool. Like, maybe he's already cured his fear of heights, and this is just, like, to maintain it.
Well, I mean, I think we should see like that unsteadiness and that gaining of confidence as he goes, and that's why there's like almost this pride by the time he gets to the top, and that confidence in him just standing on that pole. Then it means something.
Yeah, I see.
Good call.
So you sort of capture that same moment, but capture it earlier.
Yeah. So we actually see the accomplishment.
Yeah, and then it could make that first attack on him really engaging.
Yeah. And, that first moment is definitely unsettling, but he's like, I got this. I've already done this. I mean, he's still going to be unsettled a little bit because nothing was being moved on him and nobody was throwing shit at him when he was jumping up there the first time.
Well, exactly, and this would be the first time that he's actually being confronted with an actual person since he started his training. So you could still have some of that shakiness at the beginning of the fight.
Now, I'll forget, was this before or after the Ferris wheel?
This was after the Ferris wheel.
After.
Okay. So, I mean, he should be starting to shake that off a bit.
He should be, and that would be like that final point.
That moment of realization.
Yeah, that moment of realization is that I can do this. The other thing I would like to see more of is, I mean, aside from training him with the fingerboard, you never actually see any martial arts training.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is Actually, at one point, I actually saw a review saying this is one of the best martial arts films. I'm like, is it? Is there martial arts in this movie? I mean, yes, he's being trained to do some, but do we see that? I don't think we do.
We see Chun use a lot of it.
Yes, but you don't see Remo, our quote-unquote hero. Right?
Yeah, but we're training him to float. We're training him to not be afraid of heights. And
to control his body, yeah. So, and
we don't really see Chun do a whole lot either. He's dodging bullets and running on water, but a lot of that combat happens kind of behind the camera. I mean, that one point where he actually finds Chun behind the tree, and Chun hucks him away. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff we don't actually like. A lot of stuff we don't see,
or even in that basement though, when Remo first meets Chun. He's dodging bullets, but he's also throwing Remo around.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
And there's some of that, but yes, the only actual physical combat that you see is Chun throwing Remo around, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Because both scenes that were referenced were both him throwing Remo around.
I want to see Chun more like Shaw Brothers type of that old master, and he's just doing the impossible sometimes, and we do see that, but I want more of that.
Yeah.
Chun.
Did you say Shaw Brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we speaking Fast and Furious Shaw Brothers?
No.
Because I don't know who else you would be referring to.
These old martial arts movies.
Oh, okay. All right.
The old kung fu movies from the 70s. And you get that old master with the long white beard that just can do crazy shit.
Yeah.
And you want to actually see some of that happening.
Yeah.
Right. While I was watching this, and interestingly enough, I've also been watching Into the Badlands finally again.
Okay.
I watched the first season and I forgot about it for a while, and that's a great example of these really magnificent martial arts scenes where they're truly unbelievable, and they owe so much to the Remo Williams stories because they're doing the things that I wanted to see in this movie. Right, the running up the walls and these incredible feats of martial arts that you don't see. I mean, even they've even got Nick Frost doing martial arts, and it looks real.
I need to watch this show.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, the first season's good. Second season is great. Third season, I'm only about halfway through, and it's pretty good.
AMC show, but you can catch it on Netflix. I think they've finished.
I think it is. Yeah,
season 3. It ended with season 3. Yeah,
but there's some stunning martial arts in that show.
There are, and the Emily Beecham who plays the widow is amazing.
And she's pretty good at martial arts too.
And yes, she's pretty good at martial arts too. Yes. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to see in here. Is there's clearly people are interested in seeing that type of with the wire work and just these things, incredible feats of humanity that are.
Yeah, you see a little bit of that mixed with a little bit of John Wick, and I think that's kind of what I want, right?
Yeah, but with all of the character of Remo Williams, and certainly you can have lots of guns, but Remo doesn't have any, right? Which is the way that the stories are written.
Yeah.
Right? There's one book which is great where Remo's in the middle of an explosion. They explain how he escapes this explosion completely unharmed so well. Right? It's like they studied physics and they said, well, theoretically, using physics, you could escape an explosion unscathed. The way it's described, and I'd almost like to see that in the movie where he does escape that explosion unscathed.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
And I think Remo was the first cool guy that never looked at an explosion.
Yeah.
He just walks away. Like a badass.
Yep. If I remember correctly, even in the book, even his clothes are unharmed. The way he uses the initial shock from the blast to sort of push him away, like he just lets himself basically go weightless, and becomes one of the projectiles, so that the projectiles never hit him.
Yeah. Should we do away with the gas chamber? It feels old to me, even though I really like that he gets out of it by the dude's diamond teeth.
It's a good scene, but it doesn't show that he knows how to hold his breath for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
so
I mean, if we can keep it in, but change it enough to make it really show how far along he is in his training. I mean, we know that he's not fully trained yet. We know that, but he should be well enough trained to handle these types of things. I mean, even that fight scene is clumsy. And
he needs to have a big fight scene with Stone.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, I have some thoughts on that too. I think you guys are going to like where I'm going with that too.
Well, as far as casting?
As far as casting, and we'll get into the casting, but I changed both of Grove's henchmen into henchmen, so they're both fighters, right? So you can have a 2-on-1 type of fight with Remo.
Nice.
So I planned it that way because I wanted to see more of that.
You want like a raid fight, like the two brothers fighting Mad Dog.
Yeah,
I kind of
Yeah.
liked how the dude smiled and he just kind of looked like a creepy mannequin most of the time.
Yes.
And that's how
But
I...
that's Patrick Kilpatrick in anything.
Yes, it really is. Right. It is his trademark, unquestionably.
It's almost like he stepped out of Gattaca.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to maintain that look because it amused me.
Yeah. I
But I kind of
struggled-
like where you're going and almost like making the henchmen like these good fighters. Maybe they're former MMA guys or something.
Oh, you have hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah, you definitely did. So I think Sam and I are probably going to have at least one of the same names.
I wish I'd thought of that when I did my casting.
Oh wow! I think I like being that you made the other guy a henchman. I know who your second guy is too.
You might.
Stone and so is, Jim Wilson. You made Jim Wilson a
henchman, yeah.
Yeah,
so because Jim
Wilson, he kind of felt more like
an advisor, and he was useless.
Yeah, like a business manager, the guy who cooks the books, right?
I didn't feel he served the story as well as a second henchman could.
Yeah.
So that would be.
You don't really need the guy who cooks the books to be there.
No, it doesn't serve the story, especially this type of story.
Yeah.
And then my Grove, I cast for somebody who's just a little bit crazy.
Nice.
Here's the thing, though. You need that character that's going to lure Remo and Major Fleming into that trap.
Which would be good for the Jim Wilson character.
Yeah, but if he's like another like henchman to fight, although we won't know that yet. He'll have only known Stone. He wouldn't know this guy.
Yeah.
So
if he looks military, he'll fit in. If you keep it down to Stone, then it should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. There's ways around that. Certainly.
Yeah, you just keep those two from meeting.
All right, then I think I know who you cast for that, which is cool. I'm looking forward to saying yes, I knew it.
We'll see if you say that. I'm looking forward to it too. But yeah, I definitely want to see more physicality from, especially in that at the climax of your film, because I think that's the only real true like major flaw with the story is the climax of the film feels pretty unclimactic, right? Because there's a lot of running around and a lot of running away. But there's no real sort of moment there where you feel like they've won.
Yeah, well, with Kate Mulgrew's character, she's set up to kind of being also investigating Grove Industries, but you don't really see her do much. They kind of say she's capable. We don't actually see her do a lot. She bumps into Remo early in the film, which kind of gets her into a little bit of hot water. Hey, who's this dude? Why are you talking to him? That sort of thing. But when... Again, they meet up at Grove Industries base, and Remo's there to make an assassination, and all she does is pull him further and further away from his target.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that character is almost like the obligatory female lead that you see still in movies today, right? In action movies, you have sort of this quote unquote love interest. Right, I mean, she's not really in this movie, but that's what she felt like in this movie. She was way underutilized. The only scene where she actually served any kind of fun in the movie is the scene where they first meet on the base, and she's like, "Are you Army Intelligence?" And then she asks, "Do you salute me or do I salute you?" And then he gets that grin and says, "You salute me." I like that.
There's some fun stuff there, but I mean, you've got Harold Smith who's kind of onto her too, as they're both looking at the same files at the same time, and Harold notices what's going on. I mean, thankfully with the hacking we can get rid of all those giant crays and stuff, but
yes.
But there should be some interest in his part. I almost feel like his interest was out of respect and like, should be good to recruit.
See, I'm looking at it the other way. Is I want to see Smitty earmarking her as a potential target
because she's
digging into stuff he doesn't want her to find out.
Yeah.
Right, because it could lead back to him. So I see her as a potential target.
Well, she should be.
Yeah.
I mean, if any kind of discovery is kind of backtracked, I mean, you would figure Grove has his own guys to look at any kind of industrial espionage and hacking type scenarios. And let's say Kira's really good at hiding their tracks. She's not.
Yeah.
So she automatically is a target. But for Grove, which makes her a person of interest, which would be good for Remo to make contact with. And it's not only is she digging into it, she's not a target to cure so much as, okay, we need to get her out of there because they're going to go after her. Yeah. And she's innocent in all this.
She's just doing her job.
Yeah, so they're not going to take her out.
No, and I'd like to maybe even see that change tack. Like at first, Smitty was thinking, well, maybe she might be a target for us. And then he's like, no, she's doing good work, and now we're going to make sure that she is protected from Grove because
maybe she's initially
because he sees everything that's going on underneath there, right?
Yeah, maybe she's initially a person of interest because she is working with Grove Industries during those test failures.
Yeah.
She's also one of those people who was there. Grove wants to sweep these things under the rug as well.
Yeah, and he wants...
And initially, maybe Cure thinks she's helping with that.
At first, yeah. You can kind of have that switch where she goes from being a target to being an ally kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. But now that we've switched it, maybe she's finding out some of these records, maybe with the dealings with some of the enemy territories that they've been selling weapons abroad to the enemy.
Yeah, that could work. I think that could work. It doesn't change the story that much, but it certainly it gives it more depth.
Like I said, we wanted to do that to make Grove feel a little scummy or a little more evil.
Yeah.
And I also cast somebody that's got abilities so she wouldn't be as much damsel in distress as somebody who can just hold her own.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did I, actually.
Man, I hope you didn't cast the person I cast. Although if you did, great minds think alike, and so do ours.
There we go. Yes, it's true. That's what it happens with Jay and I sometimes. Wouldn't be surprised if it happens with us too there, Sean.
It'll happen.
You guys are kind of chomping at the bit to do some casting. You want to do some casting and see if some more ideas float out while we're doing it?
You know what? Sometimes the casting does feed some more ideas. Yeah. It's true.
Because, I mean, really, the structure of this movie is fairly basic. We're just kind of tweaking here and there and wanting to bring out the action a little bit more. And that comes down to just the actor not being properly trained in general, which is kind of ironic.
Yes. There is a certain irony there, yes.
And we saw how that did Iron Fist Season 1 a disservice as well, because they didn't have enough time to train this guy into proper martial arts.
There is that for sure, yeah.
And so we want to have that.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, I cast with that in mind to a certain extent. The actor I cast is definitely action capable.
Well, you just want somebody who's going to put in the work, right? Yeah. How do they describe Remo Williams in the book? Like,
he's an average-looking guy. He's an everyman.
With really thick wrists.
With really thick wrists, yes.
How did he get the thick wrists?
Polishing
Sam's already laughing.
Exactly. He's ambidextrous, yeah.
Tonight, the stranger.
Oh, dude. I was just sitting on my left hand, too. So it also, like, not only does it feel like somebody else, but it feels like somebody new. I've never done this before.
Well, I've had nobody ever do it on the podcast before.
And I don't know why I said that with a guy's voice. So that's some things to ponder later.
Something to talk to your therapist about.
By the way, I picked a director and a writer also. I don't recall if that's something that you usually do.
We usually do, yeah.
Yeah, director for sure. Writers not very often, but but by all means, if you've gone that in depth, we want to hear it.
What, director and writer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I should tell you now?
Well, let's go for it. All right. Now we've set it up.
Yeah, you're the guest, so you get to lead it off.
All right, the guy that's directing the movie, he's the person that tells the actors what to do. That's the director. And the writer is the person that writes the story. Is this what you're asking me, or you're asking me to tell you who I chose?
Both. Let's go with who you chose.
Martin Campbell as the director. Another Bond director.
Okay.
Doing a first movie in a series, because he's done 2 first Bond movies for actors. He did GoldenEye and he did Casino Royale. Mm-hmm. And people love GoldenEye. I'm not one of them, but people love that movie. And people love Casino Royale. And like Martin Campbell has his finger on the pulse of a film like that. Mm-hmm. And I think he would do a great job with a Remo film.
I think you're on the right track there. I think you're definitely on the right track there. That actually was kind of my reasoning for my director too, but we'll get to that when I get to that.
Okay.
And then your writer?
Jordan Peele.
Oh. See, there's somebody
his finger is on the pulse of everything.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that guy knows what's going on for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he can write dark and he can write comedy. So, yeah, that's actually a good pull.
Well, to pull him a little away from the horror stuff to say, like, at this point, I'm almost thinking he's at risk of people forgetting he did comedy.
Well, Us does have its good amount of comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, so does Get Out.
So did Get Out. Yeah,
so did Get Out.
Here's the problem that Us had, is that people were comparing it to Get Out. And I thought it's a terrible thing to do. That's like if you go, Steven Spielberg, and are you going to compare E.T. to Schindler's List?
No, you're absolutely right. And
exactly.
you should never compare a director or writer's work to previous works, because you're doing both works a disservice.
Yes, but Jordan Peele as the writer, because he's got great comic chops, obviously, But he can also get to like some of the actiony stuff and the darker stuff.
Yes. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, who's your star?
Well, why don't you guys tell me who you chose for Remo?
Okay. Well, do you want to do? Let's all do our directors.
Okay. So
yeah.
So I went with Tim Miller, director of the first Deadpool,
right?
Because
cool.
he obviously can do the over the top action with the humor. We don't need to go quite as deep into the potty humor as they did in Deadpool, but I think he's does a good job of balancing that. Mm-hmm. Does a great job of balancing that, where he balances that light and dark extremely well. And obviously he's good at directing action scenes.
I got somebody who's still fairly new as a director, but it'll come into play a little bit later with my casting as well. I went with John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, he's got the comedy chops already. We know that. He's got a good sense of humor, and we've seen him now do a fairly dark horror movie, and now to mix those action elements that were in that movie with his comedy chops, I'd like to see that. I'd certainly like to see that. And I think Remo would be a great way to do it. Hell, he could even play Remo if he wanted to. I didn't go that way.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, did you cast Rainn Wilson to play Remo?
No.
Fact.
That would be for the parody version, Sean.
Funny enough is that I did two casts. One would be like a serious one, and then the one was like, if this was a bad 80s movie cast.
Nice. I knew you were excited. I didn't know you were that excited.
I also neglected to cast Chun in that one because, I'm not disrespecting Chun like that. I like life.
There we go. Fair enough.
Okay, Sam, why don't you tell us who your Remo is?
All right. My Remo, I actually had before I even watched the movie because when I thought Everyman, bang, automatically thought Jeremy Renner.
Oh.
Wow.
Does the action. He's done lots of action with the Bourne movies and, of course, the Avengers movies. And I think he's about that right age because Remo was in his late 30s, early 40s when he was recruited. And, yeah, we know he can do the action. So, yeah, that was why I went with Jeremy Renner.
Nice. Well, I went with Frank Grillo.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's done some stuff in the Avengers movies when he was Crossbones. And, of course, he's done those... what are those horror movies?
Purge.
The Purge, thank you.
There we go.
Lord, I can't believe it.
Now I can see in my head. I was having trouble seeing him, but now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And he also did Beyond Skyline because we needed a sequel to Skyline.
Yeah, I deliberately wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah, but I watched that because it's got two guys from the Raid in it.
I watched it.
I
did.
Yeah.
I did that thing to myself.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I did it as well because I do like him. And I love the guys from the Raid, so, yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping for more, but, Skyline was mediocre, and they were hoping
That's
to get there.
That's an insult to the word mediocre.
Beyond Skyline didn't even achieve mediocre.
No.
But I still have a little faith in Grillo, so hopefully we can give him a leg up here. What do you got?
Michael B. Jordan.
Interesting choice.
That dude, I don't know how he is a comedy, but that guy's in shape. If you've seen the Creed movies, you've seen Black Panther, the guy's in shape. He can definitely act. I would cast him as anybody in any movie ever. That guy's acting chops are great, and I think he would bring something different to it that would still be relatively. And I'm not basing it on the book, obviously, because Remo is described in the books as a white man. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I think Michael B. Jordan could bring something just fresh and fun to the role.
I'd have to agree with you on that. Certainly he's incredibly talented and definitely not average looking, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, he could do. He's a write your own ticket type of actor.
Yeah.
So if you wanted a big franchise, this might be the one to make it with it.
Yeah, and he would be so good at it.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, he's definitely capable of the physical combat that we want to see in our version of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And he can bring you to tears with just a look. So I'm going with that. My bad 80s choice was Ken Marshall, who played Prince Colwyn in Krull.
I like it.
Nice.
Good pull. All right, now the really tricky one here is going to be Chun.
I went two type, and actually I cast an actor that I really, really like. Mm-hmm. He's only done one English language film, though, so I'm a little nervous.
Okay.
But I think he could pull it off. I went with Min-Sik Choi from Old Boy and Lucy.
Oh,
wow.
Really like that.
Yeah, he's older, but he might need a little bit of makeup to make him look as old as Chun, but certainly I think again another actor who'd be capable of the physicality of Chun's role. I'm hoping he would have that fluidity that Joel Grey had, because that was part of what made it so good. Is when Joel Grey moved, it was so graceful and smooth.
Yeah,
right. And,
yeah,
and you really need an actor who can pull that off. But I think that he can pull it off.
Nice.
And he's actually Korean.
Yeah, I was trying to pick somebody older. I love that you got a Korean actor. Unfortunately, mine is Chinese, but I went with Chow Yun-fat.
He was also on my list. He was one of the actors I was looking at.
Yeah, he's going to be, I think he's around 65 or so right now. He's still going to need some makeup because he's got that graceful Asian genes where they just don't look like they age at all.
Yes.
I wish I had that.
I'm 90, but I look 40.
He played that character in Bulletproof Monk.
And in a way, yeah, he kind of did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which probably did inform me somewhat, because I've seen Bulletproof Monk a few times, so that was probably sitting in the back of my brain when it popped in there.
Well, and I mean, I think Bulletproof Monk kind of owes a fair bit to the Remo stories anyhow.
Yeah. And
definitely.
And I mean, Chow Yun-fat's done a lot of those big action martial arts films, either with guns or the martial arts style, Crouching Tiger. Like, he's done these big set pieces and he's done the martial arts, so we know he can do it.
That's true, yeah. Jet Li was another one that was on my list.
Yeah.
Right? That was a possibility. But I wanted to stay with Korean, and I'm like, well, who would I pick?
Like that.
And then I realized, old boy. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Great choice. Great choice.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Who is your Chun, Sean?
Not Korean either. I mean, my Chun will always be Joel Grey. I'm not going to lie about it. And what's his face from Generations played him on the TV pilot. Can't remember the gentleman's name now.
It wasn't Roddy McDowell.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, was it? Okay, yeah.
Or no, Malcolm. No, it was Roddy. Never mind. Yeah, it was Roddy McDowell.
Yeah.
But I went with Donnie Yen, Ip-Man, because he can do the humor and he can do the fighting.
Yeah, and the other one that I was looking at, but for sure he was, because going with one of those like classic martial arts actors who now are in their 60s is a great way to go. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I liked him.
All right, Sean, why don't you carry on with the rest of your cast there?
The rest of my cast?
Yeah, let's hit the rest of these guys here.
All right. Well, for Harold Smith, I went with somebody a little more finessed with Mr. Bryan Cranston.
Nice.
I like
that. I think he would kill it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For McCleary, I'm torn. I can't decide if I want Ice-T or Sam Jackson or Ice Cube.
Any one of those three would be good. I went with Sam Jackson myself, but
I'm leaning towards Ice-T.
I'm leaning towards Ice-T now myself too. I think you nailed that with Ice-T.
Ice-T has the best line in New Jack City. I want to kill you so bad, my dick is hard. For Grove, I went with Kurt Russell.
Excellent. I almost did that myself.
Right on. For Major Fleming, I went with Charlize Theron, hence no longer a damsel in distress, and we know that she can act her ass off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For Stone, I went with Dave Bautista, somebody that's going to be very imposing on our Remo. And we know that Dave Bautista can act. I must mention a little movie called Blade Runner 2049. Anybody?
That was he was actually pretty good in that.
He was pretty good in that.
Yeah, I mean he's fun in Guardians, but he's still finding his groove there. I think. Especially
I think he can do it though. Yeah. I hate the fact that he's doing like a Vin Diesel kind of pacifier movie that's coming out. Yeah. I'm not going to bother with it. For General Watson, I went with Kate Mulgrew.
Nice.
Because why not? Because there's that whole that thing like, it doesn't bother me that you're a woman. It's like, well, if it means anything to you, sir, it doesn't bother me that you're a man. So changing that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. No, I love that.
I didn't cast my Wilson, so I'm going to go with absolutely. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah. No.
Well, my Wilson is Jonathan Banks.
Oh, sorry, no, the general. Sorry, yeah, General.
Oh, General. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, General Watson. Gotcha. Reginald Veljohnson is the ambulance driver still. And I also cast the Doctor and Jim on As the Planet Revolves. Because it's, we're going to have that soap opera on in the background.
Good Lord.
So for the Doctor, I went with Matt LeBlanc.
Nice.
Right? And for Jim, the football player kid, I went with James Vanderbeek.
Nice.
I don't know. I think Fred Ward needs to be in that scene.
Fred Ward should show up at some point.
He should be in the soap.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He can play the dad. He can play the dad of the football player. Because, he's...
Yes. Because there is that other... you never see it, but you hear the conversation. That's
I love
right.
it. I love it because it's deep cuts.
That's
Hiding
brilliant.
them really well.
Yes.
And that's it as far as my good actors. My bad actors, it's a shorter list. But I still kept Jonathan Banks as Jim Wilson because he was an 80s bad guy as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Major Fleming is Tanya Roberts because she can't act her way out of a paper bag. Harold Smith was John P. Ryan. Probably you'd know him best from Delta Force 2. Always the hard way.
Yeah.
And also, keeping with Delta Force 2 and the Untouchables, for Stone, I went with Billy Drago.
Nice.
Okay, there we go.
A much older cast.
Well, this is if it was being made in the 80s.
Okay.
But with a shitty cast, yeah.
Okay,
But
I get it, yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing your castings.
Sam, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Okay. So for my Smith, I went with Kelsey Grammer.
Nice.
I think he'd be great as Smith. We already talked about my McCleary. I went with Sam Jackson. My Major Fleming, I went with Jessica Chastain.
Ooh.
I kind of was sort of informed by the red hair. I'm like, who's a good redheaded actress? I'm like, Jessica Chastain, because again, no longer
Celia
damsel in
Flick.
distress, good actress, lots of
Yeah.
screen presence. For my Grove, I went with Martin Soskis. He played Quinn in Into the Badlands, and he is absolutely fucking crazy. So I thought he could bring that menace into this character that we really needed for our bad guy.
Cool.
For my Stone, I went with Ronda Rousey.
Ooh, nice.
Good, because that character doesn't talk. Excellent.
Yeah,
I was
as long as
thinking
she
that.
doesn't speak, it's fine.
If you want imposing, she could do imposing.
She can do imposing, and I think that she's still a badass, right? Regardless of what everybody says about her, the end of her MMA career, she's still a badass.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Followed by another MMA badass who is also acting. For my Wilson, I went with Gina Carano. She was
Gina Carano.
yes, from Fast and Furious 6 and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yes, so
And Haywire.
Haywire was great.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm thinking two badass women who know how to fight, and you have them like as
Yeah.
bookends for our bad guy. And I think that would give you a really great fight scene, especially considering it also puts Remo in a tough position where it's like, well, these are women, and he's not really sure how. He hasn't reached that point where he's comfortable striking a woman, so it could give you he could get his ass kicked for a while until he sort of realizes, well, I have a choice, right? I can use my training and survive this, or I can get beat to death.
No, that is awesome.
That's fantastic.
I really actually thought that through this time.
All right, let's finish off with my cast. For my Harold Smith, I went with Danny Glover.
Also nice.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of a reversal here. So with my McCleary, he sounds like that name sounds Scottish or European. So I went with somebody like Sean Pertwee, who's still got a nice gravitas, but has an older veteran feel to him, and he comes off pretty tough in some of his stuff, especially as Alfred.
Yes.
That's an Alfred I don't want to fuck with.
Yes.
For my George Grove, I actually went a bit younger, but middle-aged entrepreneur, but I want him to look kind of menacing, and if he had to get into a fight, looks like he could do something. I went with Jason Isaacs.
Ooh,
Also nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That guy's a great villain every time he's a villain.
Exactly. And it's been a while since we've seen him as a villain, so let's make a villain again.
Yes.
For my Major Fleming, I went with Emily Blunt. We already know she can kick ass, and I don't know. There might have been a little something happening there with Krasinski as my director. I think something happened that got her that part.
I would think. I think. Maybe like her bearing his children.
That might have something to do with it. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
It wasn't because she was Mary Poppins?
But, it would go
That might
good
be
with
too,
your
yeah.
cast, because I would love to see her punch like Ronda Rousey in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking about it, I'm like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
But for my Stone, I didn't actually cast my Jim Wilson, but I might defer to Sam on both of these. But for my Stone, initially, I'm like, I really liked this mannequin look and this creepy smiling guy, so I went with Armie Hammer.
Oh. Yeah, when you want to talk about a guy who looks like a mannequin, that's a good call.
Right? That was me last night. Actors who look like mannequins.
That is, yeah. If you want an actor who looks like a mannequin, that's the way to go. And I can still see Ronda Rousey having that diamond in her teeth.
Sure. I like it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, I like it a lot. So I'm down with having females in that part for sure, and it'd give Raynor something more to do. So
Yeah, it would certainly, and now you could have a final fight scene where he's fighting them both. And again, like you said, his reluctance to fight a woman.
I would love just Raynor going, "It's easy, punch her in the face." She gets the ball rolling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you could have a lot of fun with that type of fight scene,
for sure.
right?
I dig that a lot.
And I mean, when you look at the two actors I've chosen, because Rousey, when she looks mean, she looks mean.
Oh yeah,
right?
So does Carano.
Yeah, exactly. So they're really good at being imposing, even though you wouldn't expect them to be, because they're both attractive women too.
Yeah. Cool. I dig it. So, any more thoughts about any last minute changes you want to make to the film itself?
I don't know. I think we've kind of covered the tweaks that it needs. Like I said, as a whole, it's not a bad film.
Yeah, it really suffers on the choreography.
The choreography and
sense of humor is kind of spot on. It sometimes gets derailed by just some flat acting on Ward's part, I think.
It is, yeah. And one of the things I would definitely change is, I mean, and recasting it properly. One of the things when I was rewatching it is the bullet dodging scene at the end of the movie. He looked ridiculous, right?
Yes.
He looked absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he doesn't need to be as graceful as Chun was, because he's still a novice, right?
He looked ridiculous going over the concrete when he was doing the soft float walk over the concrete.
Yes.
And his hands are flapping in the air. I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah, but so I'd like to say, like, really, you're right. It's just
tighten up his badassery there.
Yeah. Tighten up the choreography and make the scenes that should look really graceful.
Yeah,
right. Because Sinanju, even as a novice,
by the end, he should be looking a lot more graceful than the middle scenes. For sure.
Yes, right. And you could have some fun with that, where he's training and he's clumsy looking and he looks kind of goofy because he's not quite there yet. I think that'd be a lot of fun and would add another element of humor to it.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, really, the only thing that really needs to be strengthened is the MacGuffin, right? Our bad guy, what motivates him, giving us a really great end scene.
Yeah, right? I think, money's a great motivator, and him covering up his illegal arms deals.
Yeah, and he has to be actively betraying America.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that you've kind of covered that by suggesting that he is selling inferior weapons to the American troops and taking money from terrorist groups or enemy countries. I think that gives enough motivation for Smith to be looking at him.
For sure.
Because Smith doesn't seem terribly concerned about his embezzlement, essentially, for the development of HARP. Like, he's just, well, let's keep looking at it. There was no sense of urgency there for me.
Yeah.
And no sense of growth.
And HARP was just a shell game. It was just moving money around. It was a project that didn't exist.
Yeah, and I think that you could still have that in there to a certain extent, but have the motivation behind it be more malicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally dig that.
And then a kick-ass fight scene.
Any last thoughts there, Sean?
I would probably not have his theme play every time he does something. But I would keep the same score.
Certainly, maybe not through
the whole some music cues.
Yeah, have it as certainly as homages at certain points in the movie where it makes sense. Absolutely, I'm totally.
Or even just keep Chun's theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
And get rid of the Tommy Shaw tune. No disrespect to Tommy Shaw, we don't need it.
Also true. True. I think it's going to be. I think that we've kind of fixed what needed to be fixed in this in the original. Maybe enough to build a franchise.
And maybe if it comes out of development hell that it's been in for the past how many years, Shane Black's Destroyer movie might see the light of day.
That would not disappoint me.
Ours is better, though.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, enough times passed where people have forgotten the missteps on this movie. It was weird when I was tracking down the money on this. I couldn't actually find a budget, but just Googling it comes up with $40 million. I'm a little dubious about the number. It had an opening weekend in 1,170 theaters, but only opened with $3.4 million on its opening weekend. That's pretty small, and it opened at number 4. Its final box office worldwide take was $14.4 million, roughly.
Ooh, that's a flop.
Yeah.
What did it open up against?
85? To be honest, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be the first Back to the Future that summer? I'm not sure if it's
there was a lot of big stuff happening in 85.
I'm pretty. I don't recall. I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure the first Back to the Future was that summer. I remember seeing the marketing for this movie briefly. There wasn't a lot of it, Yeah, so it's hard to say what, but I don't recall what it would open up against. But yeah, I remember seeing it going, and not even sort of recognizing it as the Destroyer at first. Because, I mean, because it was Remo Williams and not the Destroyer. I think that's the other thing I would change, is call it the Destroyer, like you're saying with Shane Black wants to make a Destroyer movie, not a Remo Williams movie. They're one and the same, but it doesn't have the same name recognition unless you're a fan of the books.
True.
And there's a reason that there's 152 books, because there are fans out there who continue to buy these books and support this character. And I love the fact that they've modernized him as time progresses. Like, they haven't retconned him. He's been going since the 70s, but he still looks the same age.
Exactly. Yeah. So even when when the books are in the 80s.
Yes.
I do have the chart for October 18th through 20th in 1985.
Oh, excellent.
Number 1, Commando.
Okay.
When you get to number 3, you're going to be like, why is that number 3? Number 2 is Jagged Edge.
I can see that being number 2 that weekend.
Number 3 is Back to the Future.
So obviously it opened a few weeks before.
Yeah.
If it was number 3.
I'm guessing, right? Yeah, because Remo's at 4, then Silver Bullet, Agnes of God, Better Off Dead.
Which I love.
Yeah. Oh, Better Off Dead is great. And then number 11 is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and number 12 is The Journey of Natty Gann. So 2 movies with, now I can't remember his name.
John Cusack?
With John Cusack, That's it, yep.
Yeah, he was in a lot of stuff around that time, and this is before he even sort of hit his stride as being a leading man.
That's true,
right?
That's true.
Better Off Dead, and then it wasn't until after Say Anything that people really recognized John Cusack as being the talent that he was. I'm questioning his decisions as an actor lately.
Well,
he's still a good actor, but I mean, I think he's indulging himself to a certain extent, but that Poe movie he did, I wanted to like it. I really did. But
he peaked at Grosse Pointe Blank for me.
I think you're pretty close. I think you're pretty close to there. I think that was where sort of his certainly his, that was, I don't want to say his swan song, but yeah, he was never going to do better.
No, I mean, Con Air? No. No.
I love Con Air. Sorry, if you want to talk about something about...
How do you not?
Yeah.
If you don't like Con Air, you're just a bad human being. It is amazing.
Yes.
It's just, it's the perfect amount of stupid.
Yes.
Right. And, I mean, like, this is also at a time where, Bruckheimer and Bay are saying, let's take something completely ridiculous and make a stupid, fun action movie out of these stupid ideas. And it worked.
Because they had all the right elements that time. They had the right cast. They had the right script. And the script at least had a story.
Yeah.
Right? And
it made zero sense, but it still had a story.
It still had a story, and you at least had some sense of the characters, unlike most of their subsequent movies. Con Air, The Rock, like right around that time is right where they were at their best, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. However, if you go back to Natty Gann, you got Meredith Salinger also, who doesn't really... I don't see her doing a lot. I know that she's Mrs. Patton Oswalt now, but she had done that. She had done Dream a Little Dream. She was on 2 episodes of Dawson's Creek, but I haven't really seen much from her aside from those.
I saw her in something recently. She's still working.
Good for her.
Yeah.
No, because she's great.
But I can't remember what I saw her in, but I've seen her. And then Ione Skye, I can never say her name properly. She's also started sort of popping up again. I've seen her in a few things lately, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for her. Wasn't she on Birds of Prey?
I don't know. I didn't see that. I've been seeing her stuff that my wife watches. Let me put it that way. It's stuff that I kind of see because the wife's turned it on Netflix or Prime or product placement. But yeah.
Never mind. No, it was Ferris Bueller's girlfriend was Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey.
Oh,
another name I don't recall.
Mia something. I can't remember.
Wasn't she in that crappy Ridley Scott Tom Cruise movie?
Legend? Yes, she was.
Yeah.
And don't call it crappy.
Yeah, Legend's awesome. What's going on here?
Oh, okay. I'll go with shitty. Is that better? Shitty?
It's a very polished turd.
It is a very polished turd. I mean, certainly when Tim Curry's presence definitely elevates it to a certain extent. It moves it from turd to polished.
Look, I like Tim Curry as much as the next guy, but he's not great in everything he's in. Like,
Congo, come on.
Yeah.
The Shadow.
That was awful.
Actually, The Shadow and Congo are like the same role, I think, for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
They really are.
Oh, and Hunt for October, another one where I was not all that thrilled to see him in the movie.
Yeah, great movie, and yeah, he stands out like a sore thumb in there.
He does. So you're right, but yeah, his performance as the Dark Overlord. No, I can't fault that.
He was good in that.
Yeah.
He was good in that. But the movie, like, that's why you called it a polished giant fucking piece of shit. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, no disrespect to the man. I know he's got this huge cult following, and there are people out there like Tim Curry's in it. He's perfect. Tim Curry's in it. He's perfect. No, but he's great. He's great. He just wasn't a great Pennywise.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I will reserve judgment until we watch
it. Right?
Yeah.
Like that movie doesn't do the book.
I mean, it doesn't do the book any justice. I hated it when it aired. I didn't even want to watch the second part.
I didn't.
But I've got OCD and I'm a completist, so I had to watch it.
No, I totally didn't. I remember I watched the first half and this is nothing like the book. I'm not watching the rest of it.
I mean, granted, made for TV, you know it's not going to be like the book, but Jonathan Brandis, not a talented actor at all. Not even close. Not even close.
Oh, come on. He's a never-ending story.
Part 2.
Part 2, yes.
Part 2.
What about Sequest? I'm sorry. Sequest?
Sidekicks, ladybugs.
All right.
I don't like that kid. Fuck him. Not a good actor. But anywho, this was about Remo Williams and not about my dislike of Jonathan Brandis's quote-unquote acting abilities.
Well, now that Sean's burned John Brandis for us... Damn, I was really hoping for that interview.
Oh, you're not getting it.
You're not getting it. He's gone.
Damn.
He's
well,
no
that makes it a lot harder already.
Yeah, it does.
And I hope it's not because he heard me reviewing his acting, because I would feel some guilt about that. Honestly.
Yeah, and you probably should, but yes, I think you're okay.
No, but I still, why he's not with us is a very sad thing, and I feel very sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
So
yes, depression is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sure is.
Well, damn, how am I going to segue out of this?
Well, Jay, just bring us to a lighter note.
Perfect. A nice little musical cue to get us into the close here of the show. Now, we love Remo Williams as the Destroyer. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing him back on screen. Hopefully Hollywood will listen to some of our casting and ID cues on this.
If they're not, they really should be.
Yeah. Does it have the legs to be that American James Bond thing?
You know what? With the source material they have to work with,
I mean, technically,
yes.
we already got it with Mission Impossible.
Technically, but at the same time, I think that Remo's different enough that you could have something really unique and fun. Mm-hmm. And certainly, and movies like Deadpool and shows like Into the Badlands have shown that people are interested in this action comedy and martial arts, like this over-the-top martial arts.
The timing could be right.
The timing could be right for this type of thing.
Would you make it R-rated?
The books aren't. I'd be perfectly comfortable with it being PG-13.
What about you, Sean?
No, PG-13 is the way to go. I wouldn't want it R-rated.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the stories have enough for that younger audience that you could really hit a big market there.
Well, what about our market, our audience? What do you think? You think Remo Williams should be a big franchise? Let us know on our social media, at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com. Leave us your questions, your suggestions, your comments, and of course, your fan challenges, just like the one Sean made to us here today. And
I'm still looking forward to doing Beastmaster 3, The Eye of Abraxas.
Oh, God, we got to do Beastmaster 2 first.
I'm fine with that, too. That's the watchable one. 3. Patrick Kilpatrick's in it, though.
I do remember. He's going to haunt my dreams.
And Tony Todd.
Plastic face.
Tony Todd, yeah.
I like Tony. I've had the pleasure of
Todd.
meeting him, and he is a gentleman and a scholar.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And, of course, help out the show, not only by using that promo code over at Seat Giant. Again, that promo code is Invasion, but you can also help out the show by telling your friends and family and your neighbor's dog to listen to the podcast. We are at a ton of different places: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, of course, our host site, Libsyn, and frickin' YouTube. Damn, even frickin' YouTube.
How did I miss saying that with you?
Do you want to try it again?
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
All right.
And even on
frickin'
YouTube.
It's hard when you can't see the cue.
That's right. You can't see the cue.
But Jay may be able to fix it up.
I'll try to match it together somehow and make it sound like it actually happened.
How about this? I'll just do this a couple. Frickin' YouTube. Frickin' YouTube. Frickin' YouTube. Frickin' YouTube. Frickin' YouTube. Frickin' YouTube.
I'll underlay it over the first one, so there we go.
There you go.
There we go.
And, do we have a V-trigger, Sam?
We have a V-trigger. This is a Val favorite, so we'll be getting a V-trigger for sure.
All right.
We have a V-trigger
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, let's set up the V-trigger.
Welcome back. This week's movie, Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. Well, the acting was okay. The music score was simple and repetitive. And the story, well, it was a little lame, maybe a little lacking. But this movie is so much fun. I had to see it 5 times before I realized that it was a white guy playing the little Asian dude. And he was freaking awesome at it. So look, if you don't overthink it, sad excuse for a story, and sit back and just enjoy the action, this movie could join your list of favorites too. Be sure to check it out. I rate this 80s flick 4 out of 5 pregnant yaks. Take care until next time.
And that was Val and her V-trigger and her ultimate wisdom as usual.
Yes. Yeah, it's fun. She only watches one of the movies when we do remake movies. As you can tell, I'm sure, from the V-triggers. She just can't bring herself to do them both, I guess. She's like, I got an idea. I can talk about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We're only giving her a minute.
Yeah. And I mean, she sees parts of the other one, so she'll come down and watch part of it with me, and then she'll go and do her thing. But yes.
That's kind of what makes these so much fun.
Yes.
Like, yeah, she didn't watch that other movie, did she? But she'll tell you.
Yeah, she'll tell you.
The first one was so terrible, I couldn't watch the second one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks for joining us, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you plug your podcast?
Well, if you want to hear more foul language and talk about nothing and everything and realism and non-realism and just, me babbling on like a complete idiot, head on over to WDIMpodcast.com. What does it matter?
What does it matter? That was
What does
great.
it matter?
What does
Thanks.
it matter, Sam?
You got me. You got me.
Is the ultimate
And he's been on
question.
it twice.
I've been on it twice, yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. Sounding.
And stop saying electric boogaloo every time you say 2.
Please.
It's not funny or cute anymore. It's just overdone and not funny.
It was funny the first time and never since.
I mean, Beastmaster 2, Electric Boogaloo, that could work. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Rocky 2, Electric Boogaloo. See?
Yeah, it's
not. There's no laughter happening. Why? Because it's not funny.
It's crickets. I think we need to insert crickets there. Crickets.
Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins at the Electric Boogaloo.
Well, that's Remo Williams 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Little chuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just fucked it up, man. Why did you laugh?
Because we said
I'm not in on the joke.
Shame. Shame. Ding, ding,
It's
ding,
still
ding,
fresh
shame.
for me.
Oh, well. How about Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo? Does that one work?
No.
Nah. I like that one. Ice-T is in that one. Home Alone 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That might have been a better
Mr.
movie.
McAllister, the father. Slowing down the tape was an awesome scene. And Tim Curry.
Yes.
All right. Leave us a 5-star rating and a short review over on iTunes for this awesome podcast you just heard. I've been Jason.
I am always Sam.
I'm usually Sean.
And we'll see you down at the Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, God.
We are out of here.
You are deaf. I have been stomping around here for 10 minutes while you talk nonsense with this woman.
Pleasure to meet you, too.
Even worse, you and the woman gorge yourself on sweets.
Excuse me, but I do have a name.
Women should stay home and make babies. Preferably man-child.
I see you both went to the same charm school.
Oh, he always talks like that. He's Korean.
Oh, I see. And that explains why he lives in a forest.
No, actually, he's here for a special purpose. To kill me.
Not so. I am here to see that you do not bring shame to the house of Shinanju.
And if I do, then you kill me.
That I would do reluctantly because you have been a good pupil for a white man.
Oh, I see. So that makes everything okay, doesn't it?
You are very skinny.